So back here, we are now going to create our second step, which is our shooting the arrow step. That will go right here. So let's create another task called shoot arrow. And this one's going to be kind of complicated because we're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff in this one. So bear with me here. Doing the same thing as before, we're saving these first section because we kind of need this for every single beginning of the blueprint if we want to get the information related to our enemy controller and our character, like just variables and things that's associated with them. Okay, here we go. So to not get confused, let's just create a comment. You can create comments by pressing C after you select them, and we'll just call it self-character. And then we also need to cast the enemy character. So once again, drag your instigator. We're going to do just like before. Get it as an object, pass it to controller. And then from here we get the controlled pawn. Okay, and this will be our little character thing, the enemy character. And this will be kind of the first step. So let's pass those together. Alright, let's first create the arrow and where it's going to fire from. So from the character, we need to get the mesh. Just mesh. So we get the mesh of the character, get the socket location, in the socket location, if you remember from before, we created a socket to where the gun would be, which is essentially where his hand is, and we called it the shoot socket. This is how our character is able to shoot. But the enemy character also will have that socket. And actually, let's just go ahead and just quickly check that, make sure that what I'm saying is true. Okay, so the hero TPP is what we need. Double click on that, and then over here. Okay. Let's just make. Okay, that's good enough for reference to see which hand, and we don't need it to play. Okay. So we're going to create a socket from right here. It turns out it wasn't created already. You do that by select. You can just select the hand itself. And then on the hierarchy, right click, go add socket, we'll call it shoot socket, and then when clicking on the shoot socket, we are going to have to drag this out to about here. If you have an actual gun, you can also attach it to the gun, but since right now we're just having our enemy character hold nothing, let's just drag it out here. So as for the location, we're going to just drag this out and keep everything else relatively straight. I think that's good enough. I'm just dragging the X axis outwards. So that's where essentially the gun will be. If you wanted to, Let's also drag it in the Z direction, just up a little, so that it actually looks like he's holding the gun in that direction. And a tad this way, just to keep it more aligned. Okay, that looks good. Now that we have that down, we can go back to our blueprints. Shoot arrow. So now we actually have our shoot socket. We're going to have to make, well, that'll come later, but we need to make a transform, which is going to include our new rotation, which is what we need to get. The reason why we're doing all of this is just to get the calculation for the z-axis. However, we do need to get the x and y axis put in there. So if we get the controlled rotation, then we can break this rotator, and over here make another rotator. And we're piping the roll and the yaw because we already have those. And the Z, which is the pitch, is we're going to be using some other stuff for that. So we're using a calculation for trajectory for that one. Okay, over here we are going to spawn an actor. So spawn actor from class. Put the transform here so that we know where it's going to shoot from. Let's move this way. And the class is going to be our arrow class, so our flying arrow. And let's leave everything else the same. And this will be all we do for now. And if you want to actually see it in action, we can just drag all of it here, so that it also gets the pitch for that. We can also attach this to here. This is just so that you can see that the character will fire, but it won't be accurate. It'll only go to a certain distance. Now it's also important that we set the instigator of this particular character after you fire the arrow, just like we did with our player controller. So we're setting the instigator. And the instigator is going to be this one here. And then we're also modifying the projectile movement. So get projectile movement, and we're setting the velocity, which has to do over here. The velocity, we can just pipe it into 3000 because that is that's basically all we need. So let's just get velocity. The equation that we're going to use needs to have this kind of a set hard value. Otherwise it will give us problems because of the two variable thing. I'm sure someone can figure it out, and if you do figure this out, please let me know in the comments. But at the moment, this is what I have, and then we set this over here. Okay, so all this is saying, basically, all this whole area is saying is create arrow, set velocity, and set instigator. That's all this is saying. Okay, let's compile and close it for now so that we can plug it into our behavior tree and see what we got. So tasks, shoot arrow. Remember to set these to itself, and let's play. So he's running around like he normally does. We shoot him, and there, you see how he's firing? Now, right now it looks like he's doing kind of a rapid fire because we didn't set that wait function. And so it looks okay. However, when you're going out here, notice how he's still firing all the way over here. This is where that calculation for the z-axis will come in, so that no matter where we move, it'll look like he's actually trying to aim at us and not just trying to fire a random arrow.